got that report of a bankruptcy from Forever 21 on the same day where Rihanna manages to raise more money for her lingerie brand, Fenty. I mean, it tells you where the money and where the consumer is going in terms of retail right now. Celebrity works. Reese Witherspoon has managed to raise a lot of venture capital for her clothing line, Goop, we know, and Gwyneth Paltrow, not just clothing, but it's an interesting juxtaposition here.
Right, as opposed to Forever 21, which is kind of, low price, fairly generic, not generic, but they're just trying to stay on the trend, but it's not really branded, it's not really attached to celebrity or personality often.
Yeah, and then at one point it was growing like crazy. A few years ago, fast fashion was threatening all the specialty brands. On the Bloomberg article on this, David, they took an interesting angle, which could be very painful for the Brookfield Asset Management and the other sort of big real estate mall owners, because Forever 21s are huge footprints, and they had been really big tenants growing like crazy over the last few years.
Yeah, so
if they have to shut stores, which we don't.
One name that if Jim Cramer was here, he'd be shouting about because he's been very positive on it. Burlington Stores. I don't know if you guys have seen that stock up sharply on better than expected earnings per share, as well as comp store sales. They're crushing it.
When other retailers complain about weather, they say weather was bad, which is good for us. I mean, that's not the whole story here.
No, there's a lot more there. Yes.
In terms of,
I thought you were going to say PVH, which is also actually having looks like a pretty good day on Wall Street, even though they were one of the companies that warned on tariffs and cut guidance as a result. I think the sales numbers for the quarter were stronger than expected. Europe actually has been a bright spot for this company. Tommy Hilfiger Europe was the highlight of the quarter. Trends in North America, which is a little more than half of sales for PVH, a little light, and Greater China were a little light, but overall it's been an underperformer like so many of these specialty retailers, the Ralph Laurens of the world, and so now it's getting a big boost on some positives that are inside this report.
Yeah.
I was going to mention that banks are just lifting again. They're outperforming this morning. They had a little bit of a relief yesterday, and obviously yields are just a little bit higher. We're not really talking about a big move in terms of treasuries, but at least they're not making new lows in terms of yield, and that's helping, at least at the outset. You have the big banks group up like 1.3%. As a category.
And some of the proxies for the China trade war in terms of negative or positive are having better than or outpacing the S&P. Apple's up 1.6%. Alibaba, which we always focus on in part, certainly a play on the Chinese consumer, but just in general is up 2.8% this morning. And tech has a pretty good bid to it. As we watch the S&P up over 1%.
Dow Transports had a really good day yesterday, having another good day today, up 1.6%. Some people saw that as warning signal in the month of August because they had underperformed. And the Russell, Mike, also had a pretty decent day yesterday, outperforming. It looks like it's having another strong one. I guess, back to the original question, which is how much is just reversing the month-end trends?
I think it's a combination of reversing a month-end trends and the sense that, at least in the very short term, this idea that we're surely headed for a sharp global downturn in the economy, maybe we've over-anticipated that. Maybe it's still the economy we knew we had. And if that's the case, if it's just a scare and not a real slide into recession, then something like, a FedEx down tremendously in a few months, and near 2-year lows or 3-year lows is going to get a bounce within the transports, up 1.7% today.
Yeah, I mean, Intel's the biggest winner right now on the Dow. It's down about 8% still for the month.
Man, Burlington Stores has almost $14 billion market cap.
It is.
All right, Bob Pisani, other than that, I know you got a lot of other things you want to get to this morning, so take it away.
So what's the trade talks worth? Well, they're worth about 20 points of the S&P 500. 3 a.m. Nobody's here. Too much noise. Don't you people ever want to go to bed? Remember the Rolling Stones song? There we go. 20 points. And, of course, that's where we have the comments out of China. Hope they can create favorable conditions. A lot of cynicism. Oh, there's nothing new here. Well, wait a minute. I thought there was something new. There's nothing about any retaliation. More retaliation. That's kind of news. And there appears to be talks going on about face-to-face meetings in September. That's kind of news. So don't be too cynical about this. In terms of sectors, same thing happened yesterday. All the stuff that had a tough time in the month were up, and all the stuff that was defensive was flat to down. This is again happening today. Semis, transports, banks, lousy month, all rallying going into the close of the month. REITs, utilities, all had a great month. all somewhat flattish to slightly up. So we're sort of flipping around here. This is great. Remember that old rotation story that keeps the market up? A lot of people were afraid that was going to go away. It's been coming back in the last couple of days. The retail, Sarah had a lot to say about the retail. I just want to know, just an awful lot of people raised guidance for the full year. Dollar General, Burlington, 5 below. Williams-Sonoma is down a little bit here. Best Buy is down a little bit. They raised their numbers here, but their revenues and comps were a little bit below forecasts. And generally, they haven't had as bad a month as some of the apparel makers. Remember, apparel's had a horrible time and a horrible year overall. So a lot of discussion about recessions yesterday. When will it come? And my issue is, what does it mean for the stock market overall? So in a typical kind of garden variety, quote-unquote recession, you'll see earnings in the S&P drop about 20%. You'll typically see the S&P 500 drop 20 to 30%. Again, this is all over the place, but this is not unusual. 2008 was like a 3 sigma event. That was really unusual. We saw 50% drop in the S&P 500 and a bigger drop in the earnings. But again, that's a real outlier. This is very typical for a kind of recession. And the real debate now is, so are we going into one? And are we experiencing now peak earnings per share? So remember, we've talked about for the last 4 or 5 months, earnings are essentially flattish for 2019. That is still the case. There are some sectors that are coming down overall. The bad news is the confidence in the estimates are not very high. Now, in the top of the hour, I'll show you some numbers for some specific sectors and show you where the confidence levels are very, very low. And that's why there's so much uncertainty in the market right now. We're very concerned about the direction of tariffs, but we're also concerned about Europe and the Asian economy independently of trade and tariffs. And we're concerned about what's the right policy for weaker growth. Is cutting rates always the right answer? There's a big debate about whether we're going to have that. Finally, just note, David, before we go back to you, if you're concerned about recessions, you want to watch the VIX here. This was 40 in December. There was concerns that we were going to have a recession in late 2019 that never materialized, and that's why we went down. Look here, we were at 24 in May when everybody started getting concerned about the tariffs again, and we're back up here in this high, in the mid-20 levels in the early part of August. Not anything close to the real, true recession concerns we had back in December. David, back to you.
Yeah. Vaguely remember all that, Bob. Thank you, Bob Pisani. Let's head to the bond pits now. Check in with Rick Santelli at the CME Group in Chicago. Rick.
Good morning, David. You know, the 2-year note yields up a couple of basis points. 10 years up 1 basis point. 30s are unchanged. We are holding. Now, as you look at 1 week of twos, it seems to have a bit more grab, and hence we've had that inversion, which is running around -3 right now. But a 1 week of 30s really underscores how we're just kind of surfing along the bottom of cycle lows. But it does seem to be firming. And remember, with the big rebalancing, just consider the huge yield drops for the month of August. You know, conventional wisdom goes, remember, when you buy Treasury yields, buy Treasuries, yields go down. So the thinking is there's going to be rebalancing, selling Treasuries, moving into stocks. Well, it seems pretty apparent yesterday that that is going on. But maybe the counterfactual is, if this represents selling to push yields up in Treasuries, it's not making a whole lot of progress, even though it may indeed be coming in. We'll monitor that closely. Look at a 2-day of what's going on in Boons. You know, they continue to extend their historic loss, albeit in very small bites. -73 came very close to that. It was like -72 and change. Yesterday, a new low yield close for the entire run of Boons. So we want to monitor that. And of course, the appropriate response of a weaker currency, the euro versus the greenback, as you see on this chart, going back to May 17. So what, 28-month low? I base everything on a close. And finally, let's look at the inverse of that, the opposite, the dollar index. That chart starts in the second week of July. On July 31st, they made their high going back to May, just like the comp for the euro. We're getting very close, but maybe the real story is how close we always have been over the last several weeks, even with all the market volatility. Sarah, back to you.
All right, Rick, thank you. Just bringing you a headline here. President Trump is speaking on Fox News Radio. He was asked about whether trade talks are going on with China. He says that there are talks scheduled today at a different level. That is the direct quote, which, you know, could very well mean to say that talks have been going on all the time between the U.S. and Chinese delegation at lower levels. We'll wait to see whether the high-level talks that were scheduled for September, as soon as possibly next week, actually happen, but feeds into the positive narrative in the market that the talks are ongoing and that for now, there's a pause in the escalation between the U.S. and China. Dow up 282 points. We are staying on top of this morning's rally for you. pretty broad-based. We've got every sector in the S&P higher. We've got more than 1% gains across the board. For the NASDAQ today, 1.5%, led by trade-sensitive stocks like semiconductors and technology. More Squawk on the Street straight ahead.
Delivering Alpha, the most important investor summit 9 years running. Strategy from leading alpha generators. Direct access to policymakers and government leaders. On September 19th, see who's calling the shots now. Go to deliveringalpha.com to attend this year's blockbuster event.
You will come away with ideas that you can put to work immediately.
Plus, special guest Vice President Mike Pence talks economy and trade war impact. Reserve your spot now at deliveringalpha.com.
Moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this.
It doesn't.
At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
There are certain things in life we simply don't talk about, and hemorrhoids are, right up there, so to speak. But we should, because there's 8 million people in the UK right now suffering with piles. If you're one of them like I was, you should speak to Xroid. They're the Harley Street specialists in hemorrhoid treatment. It's a new, fast, gentle, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids, with no downtime, and the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Consultation and treatment starts from $9.95. Xroid, be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
Live big and spend less on the brands you adore, and dine by the waterside. Who could want more? Lap up the savings as much as the view with Ted Baker, Hackett, Nike and Coach too. Lock Fine and Five Guys make it a date. You can shop, meet and eat every weekday till late. So sit back, unwind and let style lead the way. And give yourself a different day at Gunwharf Quays. Waterfront outlet shopping.
Did you know Currys PC World do business? Saving your business up to 30% with mega deals on computers and printers, electricals, large TVs, and even more. Top brands like HP, Microsoft, Epson, Sony. And if you find it cheaper from any major retailer, we'll match it. Get these deals before they're gone. Must end soon. Visit your nearest store or pcworldbusiness.co.uk/megadeals. T's and C's apply. Excludes Inc. and third-party sellers. Visit website for price promise details. Claim within 7 days.
Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things and strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings, strings, strings and things. Strings and
Now there's a whole range of strings and things called strings and things, including cheese strings, yollies, and new cheese shapes. Find them all in the cheese and yogurt aisle.
strings and things.
All right, it's the sea of green. See it there. See it everywhere. We're back after this.
For our half-price sale on a choice of floors and beds. For first-class free fitting, Carpet Right for life. Offers end Tuesday. Free fitting on selected carpets and vinyl with selected underlay. Minimum spend applies.
Dad, I'm bored.
Why don't you help me wash the car?
Don't worry, this summer we've got loads of exciting activities to keep the kids entertained. How about you go explore the Rainham Marshes and play hide and seek on the way?
Yay!
Look online for Asda Tour de Fun to find amazing walks here in London, from waterways to easy trails. All powered by Sustrans, a registered UK charity. Go discover your fun side with Asda.
From the moment I saw you, the last of the litter, I knew you were the one, and we'd soon hear the pitter-patter of tiny paws on our kitchen floor and tiny scratches on the bedroom door. You might sometimes be mischievous, sometimes be shy, but I know I found love in those kitten cat eyes. Join the free VIP Kitten Club from Pets at Home for advice and exclusive offers, including 10% off your first shop in store. Visit petsathome.com/kitten club or join in store. T's and C's apply.
We're keeping the feel-good deals coming this summer with super low prices at Tesco Mobile. Like the fantastic new Samsung Galaxy A40 for just $13.99 a month. Or pick up a 5 gig SIM for only £11 a month. Make the most of our feel-good deals. Head to your local store or search Tesco Mobile. Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
A40 ends 1st of September. 36-month credit agreement, 24-month usage agreement. SIM on 12-month contract. Subject to status. Phase policy applies. See tescomobile.com/terms.
People say you get what you pay for. We disagree. The Peugeot 208 Signature, loaded with features from touchscreen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto to parking sensors and 16-inch alloys. At £199 a month with £199 initial rental, you really don't get what you pay for. You get a lot more. The Peugeot 208 Signature. All that's missing is your signature. Peugeot Motor Company PLC, a credit broker, not a lender, will introduce you to PSA Finance UK Limited. Personal finance lease. 48 months at £199. 18 plus. Guarantee may be required. Terms, eligibility and return conditions apply. You will not own the car.
We spoke to the Cans from Sly about what BT's new complete Wi-Fi brings to their busy house.
Now the Wi-Fi literally does reach every corner of the house. We have 11 people that all use the Wi-Fi for different things, and the Wi-Fi disc has helped that so much.
The harmony in the house has improved 10 or 20-fold.
The Cans are 11 more happy BT customers with complete Wi-Fi that guarantees a Wi-Fi signal in every room.
Up to 3 discs to guarantee Wi-Fi or £20 off your bill. Terms apply.
The FBI has raided the home of United Auto Workers Union President Gary Jones. This is part of a probe regarding alleged corruption within the U.S. auto industry. Our Phil LeBeau joins us with the latest on this story. Morning, Phil.
Good morning, Sarah. And the video from yesterday shows that this is an investigation that, while it's been going on for 4 years, it is starting to widen out to involve more UAW officials. This is Gary Jones' home in Detroit, or just outside of Detroit. Some of the FBI officers leaving there. This is Gary Jones. He is the president of the UAW. The question becomes, what does this investigation, as it expands, what impact will it have on the UAW contract talks? Those talks are centering around 3 main issues, and it basically comes down to this. The time needed to reach full pay for new hires. The UAW would like to shorten that. How many temporary workers the automakers hire. The UAW would like to see that lowered or reduced. And then finally, what are the health care costs? The automakers want the UAW members to pay more. The UAW members say, nope, we think we should stay right about where we are. And in terms of the auto stocks, the negotiation, not the investigation, but the negotiation is really what people are focused on. These stocks haven't done anything over the last 4 years. That's the time frame for the current UAW contract, guys. So coming into September 15th, the focus will be on if the saber rattling and the tough stance that we've seen from the UAW, does that continue, or does this probe by the FBI, this corruption investigation with UAW leadership, does that start to weigh on members a little bit? So this is the dynamic that we're going to be focused on leading up to the September 15th end of the current contract.
Phil, thank you. Interesting story there, Phil LeBeau. Coming up, we're going to have more reaction, of course, to this strong rally that we've got going, at least in the first 25 minutes of trading. Keep it here.
If something happened to you,
moving from one rental home to another is so expensive.
Last time, we had to pay hundreds to move in, the first month's rent,
and then a big deposit.
With Romans, it doesn't have to be like this. It doesn't. At Romans, you really can move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent.
And that's it.
Nothing more to add. Move in from just £36, plus your first month's rent. With Romans.
No deposit.
No problem.
Romans, your trusted local property experts at romans.co.uk. Conditions and monthly fee apply.
There are certain things in life we simply don't talk about. And hemorrhoids are, right up there, so to speak. But we should, because there's 8 million people in the UK right now suffering with piles. If you're one of them like I was, you should speak to Xroid. They're the Harley Street specialists in hemorrhoid treatment. It's a new, fast, gentle, safe and effective procedure for hemorrhoids, with no downtime, and the procedure takes just 30 minutes or less. Consultation and treatment starts from $9.95. Exroyd, be kind to your behind. For free advice on hemorrhoids, text KIND to 81156.
Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things and strings and things. Strings and things. Strings and things.
Now there's a whole range of strings and things called strings and things, including cheese strings, yollies, and new cheese shapes. Find them all in the cheese and yogurt aisle.
Strings and things.
Dad, I'm bored.
Why don't you help me hang the washing up?
Don't worry, this summer we've got loads of exciting activities to keep the kids entertained. How about you go explore the Rainham Marshes and have a scavenger hunt on the way?
Yay!
Look online for Asda Tour de Fun to find amazing walks here in London. From lakes and logs to forests and woods. All powered by Sustrans, a registered UK charity. Go discover your fun side with Asda.
For our half-price sale on a choice of floors and beds. For first-class free fitting. For kicking your heels off. For overexcited kids. And pets. For thrills and spills. For a special welcome home. Carpet Right for life. Offers end Tuesday. Free fitting on selected carpets and vinyl with selected underlay. Minimum spend applies.